Hey everyone, and welcome back to another news alert. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and thank you so much for tuning into Boyd News. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more updates like this. And feel free to support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links are in the description below the video. All right, good to see all of you again, and I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. There is a lot happening in Ukraine and Russia today. We will start off with a breaking news report out of the Black Sea as we have new information of a Russian tanker coming under attack by a kamikaze drone near Turkey's coastline once again. Take a look at this new story on your screen, and it says Russian flag tanker reports drone attack off Turkish coast. Turkish authorities said Tuesday that another tanker has come under attack in the Black Sea while traveling from Russia to Georgia, the latest in a series of incidents supposedly linked to Ukraine. So this is a very mysterious story today, and you're probably wondering, why am I saying mysterious? Well, apparently this tanker that you're looking at on your screen, or something very similar to it, came under attack off the coast of Turkey on the south central side of the Black Sea. Not so much on the western side, like we had reports the other day that two Russian oil tankers actually came under attack. So this tanker was not carrying oil, it was actually carrying sunflower oil, and it was supposed to be coming from Russia directly over to Georgia. Now, I wonder why this ship was actually off the coast of Turkey. There's no need for that. I'll show you guys a map here in just a little bit. So the trajectory of where the ship was going doesn't make any sense, why it would travel that direction in the Black Sea to go to Georgia. And also, it came under attack by an aerial attack drone, not naval drones like what Ukraine was using a few days ago on some other Russian oil tankers. So very interesting, and also Ukraine came out today refuting this, saying they have nothing to do with this story, that this is actually Russian propaganda. So you guys can let me know what you think on this when we go over the details, but we'll talk more about this ship that you're looking at here on your screen in just a moment. We also have a very big story today that Vladimir Putin has made some major statements to the press in Moscow. In response to Russian ships being attacked, he mentioned that Russia will begin attacking Ukraine's ports and ships entering those ports, mainly near Odessa. And he also threatened war with NATO. Yeah, he made some major statements today. We're going to go over some of those things he was talking about. I have so much details to share with you guys regarding this war today. I just want to jump right into this, get into the news, because we've got a lot to cover. Let's go ahead and hop right on over to X with status 6. It says Ukraine carries out another attack on a vessel operating in Russia's interests in the Black Sea. Early on Tuesday, Ukrainian drones struck the Russia-flagged Mid-Volga 2 tanker carrying sunflower oil from Russia to Georgia. The attack took place approximately 80 kilometers from the Turkish coast. Interestingly, the ship was targeted by a long-range one-way attack UAV, or unmanned aerial vehicle, not naval drones as it usually occurs during strikes on shipping. According to the Turkish Directorate General for Maritime Affairs, the tanker did not issue a distress signal and continued sailing on its own power to the Turkish port of Sinop. So it looks like it did take some damage, but not enough to knock it out of service. It was still able to travel on over to Turkey after being struck. This is allegedly parts of the drone that was found. Some people were saying it could have been like an FP2 drone or possibly Lyuti drone from Ukraine. But again, Ukraine's coming out and refuting this, saying they don't have anything to do with this attack, but this was some of the damage being reported here. On the side of the ship, you can see some of the windows and doors being blown out here as well, shrapnel everywhere. So I really wonder if maybe this was Russia that carried out this attack. Look at the ceiling here also on the inside of the ship being blown out. There's another photo of what this ship would have looked like. Okay, so it looks like this area of the ship is most likely what took a direct hit, probably on the top of it. So crazy news. So take a look at this now from Iori Taiki. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he's the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. And he says Ukraine has nothing to do with this incident, and we officially refute any allegations of such kind made by Russian propaganda. Furthermore, the alleged route from Russia to Georgia across Turkey's exclusive economic zone makes no sense and suggests that Russia may have staged the whole thing. So yeah, he's claiming that Russia's lying about this, that this is actually Russia that probably carried out this strike on this ship. You see, just off the coast of Sinop, inside of Turkey. This would be Turkey's land here. It was about 80 kilometers, I believe, or 80 miles off the coast of Turkey where this strike took place, right in the south central portion of the Black Sea. So I pulled up this map here from Paul, and he says, what from Russia to Georgia across Turkey waters. What kind of nonsense is this? Just look at the map and you know it's pure BS. Another one from the Kremlin is what he's saying. So if this tanker had allegedly loaded up maybe somewhere over here on one of these ports near Novorossiysk, or I'm not sure if there's any ports over here in the Sea of Azov where they would have loaded up at with this sunflower oil, okay, not carrying crude oil for Russia, carrying sunflower oil over to Georgia over here. What would this ship be doing in this area? This is where Sinop would be, this little wedge right here sticking out. Right in this area is where the strike took place, okay? So why would this ship be coming down here and then circling back to Georgia? Why would it just not kind of, cruise down the coastline of Russia down to Georgia to drop off? Doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure exactly where this ship came from. Did it come from a different port in Russia? I'm not sure about that. But yeah, apparently it was traveling just a little bit here on the south central side of the Black Sea, heading over to Georgia when it came under attack. So let me know what you guys think here. Is this Russia that carried out this strike? Ukraine saying they don't have anything to do with it. But in regards to that, now we know the Russians are going to start attacking some of the ports over here near Odessa. You can see here on this map. So get ready for that. Let's go over some of the statements from Putin now. Next it says, bring the pills. Putin has announced a war with Europe. On the eve of the talks with Witkoff, the grandpa had another flare-up, and here's what he's saying. So he made several statements. Let's go over each of these. Russia is not planning to fight European countries, but if Europe starts a war, Russia is ready right now. That's what he said. He's ready for war with Europe. Europe is putting forward proposals for a peace plan that are unacceptable to Russia. Russia allows the Europeans returning to negotiations if they take the situation on the ground into account. Okay, so talking about Europe putting these proposals forward for this peace plan that are unacceptable, he actually also stated that the Europeans are trying to basically sabotage these peace negotiations by putting things in there that they know Russia will not accept. So that's kind of what he means by that. Russia may cut Ukraine off from the sea if Kyiv continues its piracy against Russian vessels. So regarding these attacks, in response to attacks on tankers, Russia will expand strikes on Ukrainian ports and on ships entering those ports. Okay, so like I mentioned, Russia's going to start carrying out massive attacks, probably onto the port of Odessa. That's one of the major ports that brings in lots of supplies to Ukraine, and they also export grain from there as well. Europe is putting forward peace plan proposals on Ukraine that Russia considers unacceptable. Russia is acting in Ukraine surgically. This is not a war in the literal sense. And he says, are you even a doctor? This was a statement coming from Nexta. And it says, after that, Putin waved to journalists and headed to the meeting with Witkoff. Okay, so yeah, we do know that Steve Witkoff has arrived in Russia today. I've got some video footage of him in the motorcade today. Apparently, he was walking around with Kirill Dmitriev down in Moscow. So major meetings being held between the U.S. and Russia today regarding this whole peace proposal. And yeah, some major statements coming out from Putin. So let me know what you think on some things he stated here. We got to keep moving now from Astra. An oil depot in Livny, Oral region has been attacked. Local residents report. The governor has confirmed a fire at fuel and energy facilities in the Livny district. Okay, so the Oral region, just a little bit south of Moscow, came under attack by drones last night. We have reports of an oil depot on fire, most likely from Ukrainian drones striking it. Take a look at this real quick.
Я охуел, глянь, ебашит. Сука, слава богу, блядь, по мне не уебал. Видишь, это уже, видишь, химия горит.
All right, so in this video, we got what looks like multiple fires, anywhere from 2 to 4 fires, it looks like, coming from this oil depot. Looks like it got heavily smashed by Ukrainian drones overnight, and we're still seeing Ukraine's drone sanctions onto oil facilities in Russia occurring as we have yet again another oil depot being attacked. We actually haven't talked about oil depots much lately. It's usually refineries coming under attack, so major oil depot over here in the Oral region in the town of Livny coming under attack overnight. Now, next, a Ukrainian drone strike on Gudermis. Reports of a hit on the Akhmat regiment's base. Gudermis in Chechnya was attacked. Local sources report drone attacks on the Akhmat regiment's facilities. Okay, so we had a facility connected to actually Russia's FSB is what was being reported on some Ukrainian outlets today. The security service of Russia, and also the Akhmat regiment. This is the branch of the military, the Russian military that comes from Chechnya under Kadyrov. If you guys heard of the Kadyrovites, this is apparently one of their facilities or bases connected to that branch of the military. So take a look at this. All right, as we can see, a huge explosion, and some outlets were reporting today that the building that was struck did burn down. So in connection to Russia's FSB and the Akhmat battalion that's currently fighting inside of Ukraine, one of their bases being heavily smashed by a Ukrainian drone overnight. Crazy news there. Now, war translated on November 29th, fighters of the HUR, Active Operations Department, struck a 9A83 launcher from the S-300V air defense system, which was on combat duty, as well as two expensive 1L125 Niobe SV radar stations. Okay, so we had an S-300 air defense system being directly hit in the last few days here from Ukraine, being confirmed today that we had two Niobe radar stations being attacked as well. We'll go ahead and roll the clip here. You can see in the video an S-300 being directly smashed right there by a Ukrainian drone. And then the other two clips here, we can actually see some of the Russian forces firing at the drone. Slams directly into this Niobe radar. Then we've got one more video here also. Looks like some Russian forces over here as well, and a vehicle traveling as we have another radar being hit. Okay, so these are probably most likely down in the southern side of Ukraine, maybe in Crimea. That's usually where we get this information from. So crazy hits here, two radars and an S-300 system being struck on November 29th, just a couple days ago. Now, like Summer 1, Moscow region, Russia, blackout in Ramenskoye, suburb of Moscow. Locals complain that dozens of homes are without electricity. Elevators are not working and it's impossible to heat food. Dramatic. The reasons for the power outage are unknown. So yeah, last night, a major suburb in the Moscow region, or in the city of Moscow, excuse me, it came under a massive blackout. Okay, something happened over here. Not sure exactly what happened, but we know that a lot of electrical substations have been attacked inside of Russia, especially up here near Moscow. So possibly could be due to that. Take a look at this.
Да, машин без света нет. Что-то в одном окне горит. А здесь вообще ни одного. Охренеть.
We'll go ahead and pause it there so we can see pretty much completely blacked out here in Ramenskoye, a major suburb in the city of Moscow in Russia. And yeah, again, I'm not sure exactly how this happened. We'll wait for more details. I don't even know if the power's gotten back online over here. Looks like some of these high-rise buildings do have some power, but for the most part, completely knocked out and pitch black over there. So insane news. Now for mosing into it. Shahed hits a mobile AD unit, that's air defense unit. Footage shows a Shahed 136 diving onto an AFU mobile air defense crew while they engage it with a mounted MG. This marks a new tactic. Russia appears to be using the drone as a direct attack platform to suppress point air defense and disrupt small mobile air defense cells. Okay, this is interesting because just yesterday I reported to you guys that Ukraine actually shot down a Russian Shahed drone that was carrying an R-60 air-to-air missile. And those missiles are designed to shoot down Ukrainian helicopters, which we know Ukraine is using a lot of helicopters right now. They're very successful at shooting down Russian Shahed drones. So Russia's trying to combat this by taking out the equipment that is used to down the drones. So it looks like they launched an attack here onto an air defense team that had what looks like a machine gun mounted on the back of a truck, and then this drone is going to crash down directly onto it. Take a look at this wild video.
Пизда машине.
All right, hopefully nobody was injured in this attack, but as we can clearly see from the video, the Russians are targeting Ukrainian air defense teams now, just like, again, with that R-60 missile being announced that's carried on top of a Shahed drone now. Looks like the Russians are trying to destroy Ukraine's capabilities to take out these drones, okay? We know a lot of these air defense teams are very successful at shooting down many Russian drones, so that's going to make it harder for Ukraine to defend themselves, so expect to be seeing more of this moving forward. Now, Ukrainian Review. Russia launched a massive drone strike on the south of Odessa region, civilian and energy infrastructure facilities under attack. According to the OVA, the attack damaged an energy facility, private and administrative buildings. Critical infrastructure is temporarily running on generators. So apparently we had a massive drone attack onto the Odessa region overnight. I think there was somewhere around 62 drones that attacked Ukraine, so it looks like a good majority of those were directed onto the city of Odessa. And again, this is the same city that we should be seeing some attacks here very soon on the major port of Odessa, as Ukraine has been attacking some Russian tankers recently. Now, Max 25, the number of victims of the Russian strike on Ternopil on November 19th has increased. A woman who was seriously injured has died at a hospital in Lviv. This brings the number of deaths from shelling in the city to 36. Absolutely horrible news, guys. I don't really know what to say about this. It's just very sad that we had all these people losing their lives. If you guys remember this, back on November 19th, Russia carried out a massive missile attack onto the western side of Ukraine, and we actually had a Russian KH-101 cruise missile slam directly into the top of this residential apartment building, and a lot of people were buried under the rubble. So many people died instantly right when this missile hit, and yeah, as we can see here, the death toll has increased up to 36 people now. I think last time we knew it was like 27 or something like that. Very, very sad news, guys. Just want to give you an update on that situation. Now, NOAA reports Putin has ordered the creation of a security zone along the Ukrainian border in the area of responsibility of Russia's North grouping. In effect, this signals plans to expand control over border areas in Kharkiv, Sumy, and Cherniv regions. This was Putin announcing this yesterday. So he's announcing a security zone that's going to be created on the northern side of the border of Ukraine. So yeah, that would include like the Belgorod region, Bryansk region, Cherniv regions, close to Ukraine's border on the north side, where Russia's been carrying out some offensive actions over there. This most likely means that Russia's going to be deploying more forces to the northern side of Ukraine, and that's going to stretch Ukraine's forces on the eastern side thin if Russia starts to launch more attacks over there. So not good news to hear about that. Now, Vicegrad 24 breaking. Witkoff and Kushner have arrived in Moscow for direct peace talks on Ukraine with Vladimir Putin. The U.S. delegation is now heading to the Kremlin. This was video footage coming out showing this motorcade heading over to the Kremlin. So yeah, Steve Witkoff, the special envoy, and then Jared Kushner, the son-in-law to U.S. President Donald Trump. They're supposed to be presenting this peace proposal directly to Vladimir Putin to review it, and we'll probably see some changes to it, I would assume. So just that announcement today letting you guys know that they have arrived in Moscow. Now moving on to Max 25, the Russian side will send Steve Witkoff back with a counter proposal that Witkoff will screw up and present as a great deal, U.S. official told Washington Post. More likely, he added, is that Putin will try to return the talks to the original 28 points, which were changed by the joint efforts of the Ukrainians and Europeans, and then everything will just fall apart, he said. You know, I have to agree with this U.S. official talking about this. I think we're going to see something similar to that. The Russians, we already know they're not going to agree to a lot of these amendments that Ukraine and Europe has changed with this U.S. peace plan. So the Russians will probably add a bunch of things to it and remove a bunch of things that are not favorable to them. Then we're going to have Ukraine and Europe once again not side with this peace deal. Then we're going to have a big problem, right? Nobody's going to be signing this peace deal in the end between Ukraine and Russia. We will have no end to the war. So I'm not expecting anything good coming out of these talks with Witkoff and Jared Kushner in Moscow, but we'll wait for more details on that. Now, Max 25, Zelensky says if America's negotiations in Russia go well, we will meet with Trump very soon. In addition, two U.S. representatives, there is a Chinese foreign minister in Russia. Yeah, Wang Yi actually arrived in Russia also to meet with Vladimir Putin. Not sure exactly why he's there. Maybe we'll get some details on that later. But Zelensky also announced today that if the negotiations in Russia go good, that we will be seeing Zelensky meeting with Trump very soon to finalize this deal possibly, or at least discuss the remaining points to this peace proposal. Now, Bliskovka. Zelensky met with Irish President Catherine Connolly in Dublin. That's in Ireland today. Among the main topics are the return of Ukrainian children abducted by Russia and Ukraine's accession to the EU. They also discussed the rehabilitation and socialization of Ukrainian soldiers and the construction of shelters in our school. schools. So we heard about this yesterday, actually, that Zelensky was going to be heading to Ireland to meet with the president over there. And they'll be discussing several different things like these abducted children and whatnot, and socialization programs for Ukraine. There's Zelensky and his wife, and then the president of Ireland. Okay, so we should be getting some details regarding that today. That's where Zelensky's currently at. Now, moving on to Max 25, Zelensky, our delegation, which was at meetings in the U.S. with the U.S. president's team, gathered in Ireland today. There are now 20 points that were worked out in Geneva, which were finalized in Florida. Some things still need to be worked out from what I have seen. Okay, so apparently the delegation for the Ukrainian side met with the U.S. also in Ireland today. We did hear about that apparently Steve Witkoff would be stopping in Ireland before heading to Moscow, which obviously he's in Moscow right now. They claim that now 20 points have been worked out in this new peace plan. So we heard just about a week ago there was 19 points. So it looks like one more point got added to this peace plan, and as soon as I get some details on that, I'll let you guys know. But just a quick update from Zelensky there. Now, Polymarket Intel, Germany's foreign minister, Johann Wadephul, believes that Ukraine may be forced to make painful concessions in the effort to end Russia's war, a process that could ultimately conclude with a referendum, APA reports. Okay, so we got the foreign minister out of Germany claiming that Ukraine's going to have to make some major concessions just to end this war with Russia. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Ukraine has some cards here? Can they force Russia to make more concessions versus Ukraine? Or is Ukraine going to have to concede major things like, for example, land, even though we know that they're not willing to do that? You guys can let me know what you think on this. How do you think these negotiations are going to go moving forward? Do you think Ukraine has the upper hand or the lower hand in the negotiation process? Apparently, this German foreign minister believes that Ukraine is not going to have the best hand to deal with this peace plan. Now, end strike. Russia is ready for peace talks with Ukraine, but we must fulfill all objectives of the special military operation. Russia wants a settlement to the Ukrainian conflict that will last for many generations, says Dmitry Peskov. So Peskov confirming that the Russians are going to keep fighting inside of Ukraine until they achieve all their objectives. We know their major objective right now is full control over the Donbass. That could take them months or years longer just to fully occupy the Donbass. We'll have to see what happens inside of Ukraine when the city of Pokrovsk falls. If it does, as far as we know, the Ukrainians are still fighting over there. It's a major transport and rail hub city in the Donetsk region of Ukraine. Lots of reports that if that city falls, that the Donetsk region could collapse very quickly. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that if Ukraine does lose Pokrovsk. But again, as far as I know, they have not yet. Now, end strike. Rubio's openly ignoring the NATO summit amid ongoing negotiations to end the war. U.S. Secretary of State has declined to participate in the annual meeting of NATO foreign ministers, which begins tomorrow in Brussels. This is the first time since 1999 that the head of the U.S. State Department will not attend such a summit. Rubio's decision has already raised concerns among allies. Washington's absence is seen as a major signal that serious political tension is emerging within the alliance. Yeah, I have another report talking about that here in just a minute in terms of, political tension between the U.S. and some of the NATO allies in Europe. We've been hearing reports that, for example, the U.S. might start to withdraw support for European allies. We've kind of seen the U.S. pull some troops away from the eastern side of Europe as well, closer to Russia and Ukraine. And I wonder as well if this could have anything to do with Venezuela, because I think Trump is supposed to make some major announcement today. He could be on the verge of doing that here very soon by the time you guys even watch this video. And if we get some information, I'll let you guys know on that. But we could be seeing some military action in Venezuela, and I wonder if that has anything to do with it. If so, that makes me think something major is coming down there in Venezuela. But if it's not connected to that, you guys can let me know what you think on why Marco Rubio is not attending this meeting. Okay, so first time since 1999, guys. That's crazy that we're not seeing a U.S. Representative heading over there for this meeting of NATO foreign ministers. So let me know what you think on that one. Check this out now from War Translated. The commander of the German army, Christian Freuding, said in an interview with The Atlantic that the Pentagon has cut off communication with the German Defense Ministry, including coordination of military aid to Ukraine. The Trump administration did not inform its German partners about the suspension of certain types of weapon deliveries to Kiev. Until recently, Freuding could exchange messages with the Pentagon representatives around the clock, but now the connection has been severed. Yeah, he was also apparently saying that he has no connection to anybody in the Pentagon, that they have to speak to like low level secretary staff just to get any information out of the Pentagon. For some reason, he's claiming that all communications have been cut from the Pentagon directly over to Germany's military in their defense ministry. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but as I mentioned a moment ago, it looks like there is some political tension going on between the United States and some NATO allies in Europe, particularly in this case, Germany. So let me know what you guys think on this story. Hopefully that's not bad news coming out from there. Now next, unknown thieves steal 20,000 rounds of Bundeswehr ammunition. Germany shocked by a major security breach. The driver of a civilian truck carrying ammunition for the Bundeswehr left the vehicle overnight in an industrial area parking lot in Saxony-Anhalt. By morning, part of the cargo had vanished. Spiegel reports that the stolen boxes contained 10,000 live pistol rounds, nearly 10,000 training rounds for assault rifles and smoke munitions. Germany's defense ministry called the incident a serious security failure, stressing that such ammunition must never fall into the wrong hands. Investigators believe that theft was pre-planned and that the perpetrators had been monitoring the transport. The Bundeswehr and local police are now searching for those responsible. Yeah, apparently a major security situation being reported as of yesterday. We're hearing that 20,000 rounds have been stolen from a truck connected to Germany's Bundeswehr, their military, right? So not sure exactly how this happened, but somebody was clearly following the truck, probably broke into it and stole the ammo. And we're still waiting for more details on that. Who is this connected to? We've been hearing about a lot of hybrid warfare and attacks on Europe, particularly the inside of Germany. So could this have connection to Russia? Don't really know yet. Still waiting for more details. But yeah, let me know how you think on that story there. Now, Jane Kiev, Russia's Lukoil to lose its largest single asset abroad. A total of 12 billion barrels of oil reserves in Iraq will be handed to an American company. Yeah, check this out from Moscow Times. Iraq has decided to transfer Lukoil's local assets to American companies. So this is most likely due to the sanctions onto Lukoil and Rosneft. This company deciding to sell their assets to American oil companies, okay, instead of to maybe another company connected to Russia. They want to get rid of it outright, sell it directly over to America. This is another major hit to Russia, as we know also that I think it was Rosneft or Lukoil, it could have been Lukoil, trying to sell their foreign assets. They were having trouble doing that due to sanctions. Now this major company here selling their assets over to America. So huge loss to Russia for their oil industry. Now next, Turkey slashes Ural's oil purchases down by 1/3 in a month. Reuters reports that Turkey cut its imports of Russian Urals crude by 1/3 in November compared to October, amid tightening Western sanctions. Shipments fell from 300,000 to 200,000 barrels per day. Since the start of the war, Turkey has become Russia's third largest, oil buyer after India and China. Such a sharp drop hits the Kremlin's logistics hard. So crazy news here also. Turkey slashing Ural's oil purchases. Okay, so allegedly they were recently purchasing about 300,000 barrels per day, now dropping that down to 200,000 barrels per day ever since the sanctions coming from the U.S. So this really shows, India, China, Turkey, the top three nations purchasing oil from Russia, are all being hit massively by these sanctions, and it's hurting Russia's wallet, as clearly they cannot export as much crude oil anymore due to these sanctions. So crazy news there. Now, War Monitor, the EU is preparing sanctions against Belarus over hybrid attacks on Lithuania. All right, so we haven't talked a whole lot about this, but there's been so many reports over the past few weeks, probably last month or so, that we've had these balloons that are flying into Lithuania. Sometimes they're smuggling cigarettes and maybe other types of things into Lithuania coming from Belarus. But the Belarusians have been launching a lot of these balloons over the capital of Vilnius, which is shutting down their airport over there. So it looks like the EU is getting prepared to hit Belarus with sanctions regarding these aerial balloons that are being spotted over Lithuania, shutting down their airspace. Now, Vicegrad 24, Sudan has offered Russia the opportunity to establish a naval base in the Red Sea in exchange for arms supplies. According to the Wall Street Journal, which cited several Sudanese officials, Khartoum proposed that Moscow set up a military base in the port of Sudan or another suitable location. Russia would be allowed to station up to 300 personnel and up to 4 ships, including nuclear-powered vessels. If the base is established, Russia would gain the ability to monitor maritime traffic through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal, a route that accounts for around 12% of global trade. In return, Sudan expects discounted deliveries of Russian air defense systems and other weaponry. So you can see why Sudan would be trying to set up this deal with Russia. Apparently, they get some discounts on Russian weapons and some of their air defense systems. So Sudan's trying to get a huge deal here with Russia to set up a military base, a Russian military base right on the coast here in Sudan, right next to the Red Sea, which would allow the Russians to monitor this shipping way. As obviously we know, this is a huge shipping lane for traffic around the world. A lot of equipment passes through the Red Sea. We've talked about these, tankers coming under attack here around Yemen when the Houthis were attacking those. So this is not good news to hear, actually, if Russia ends up gaining control of a major port over here right on the Red Sea. That means the Russians would have presence here in the Red Sea to monitor these shipping lanes. So let me know what you think on that story there. Now, next, will Indian troops come to Russia? The State Duma approves a military agreement with India. The Russia State Duma has ratified an agreement allowing Russia and India to send their troops and military equipment to each other's territory. This opens the door to mutual access to military infrastructure and logistics between the two countries. Amid growing international isolation, Moscow is desperate to show it still has partners willing to host the Russian military. So these are the guest workers Putin planned to use as replacement for the Russians killed in the war. All right, so apparently huge update today coming out from Russia. Their State Duma has approved a military agreement with India. That most likely means that Russia's going to be selling lots of military equipment over to India, and possibly India doing the same thing for Russia. So not good news to hear that India is more closely moving together with Russia to help them out militarily. Now, Max 25, Ukraine has a lot of data that they want to give to NATO as part of a joint training center in Poland, said Tom Gofis, the Alliance's Assistant Secretary General for Operations. He says, quote, "We're doing a cloud solution for that to be able to handle large amounts of data from the Ukraine battlefield. And we're hoping that it's going to be operational on NATO Cloud in January of 2026. Here's the update today from Defense One. And it says here, NATO has built a cloud for Ukraine's classified battle data. So yeah, imagine how much data that NATO will be able to obtain from this war. I'm sure they want to gather all that data in case there's a war in the future with Russia. Apparently, they're trying to build a cloud right now to gather all this classified battle data coming out from Ukraine that they can utilize to upgrade their own militaries and get it in line with how future warfare is fought, especially with all these drone systems. So huge news there from NATO. Now, Bliskovka, Ukrainian units continued defensive operations in Pokrovsk, Vovchansk, and Kupiansk. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine refuted Russian disinformation. It's just another attempt by the Kremlin to use the video footage of the flag for propaganda purposes to influence participants in international negotiations, the press service of the General Staff wrote. Okay, so this is Ukraine basically refuting all these claims that Russia's been claiming they captured Pokrovsk, Vovchansk, and Kupiansk on the eastern sides of Ukraine. Pokrovsk is going to be in the Donetsk region. Kupiansk would be in the Kharkiv region along with Vovchansk. And so far, Ukraine is claiming they're still fighting in these areas. So as I mentioned earlier, Ukraine has not lost Pokrovsk as being mentioned here. But it was actually Vladimir Putin the other day that was stating that they have captured all these areas. Ukraine saying, no, that's not true. They're saying that's Russian disinformation. Now, N-Strike, the European Central Bank, has refused to allocate 140 billion euros to Ukraine in exchange for the confiscation of frozen Russian assets. The proposal contradicts the European Commission's own mandate. In response, the European Commission has begun working on alternative mechanism. So it looks like this is going to be dead in the water. This 140 billion for Ukraine coming from frozen Russian assets sitting in banks in Europe. They're not going to be loaning that over to Ukraine most likely. I have a feeling because due to this peace deal, they don't want to sabotage that. And I'm hearing a lot of reports that Russia might actually get these frozen Russian assets back if Ukraine and Russia sign a peace deal. So that's most likely why they're not agreeing to that. Not good to hear. Ukraine could use that money right now, but looks like they're not going to be getting it, at least not for right now. Now, Vicegrad 24, Sweden will provide Ukraine with 120 million this winter to support the country's power system and address the humanitarian fallout from Ukraine's inability to generate sufficient electricity and heating. So big ups to Sweden helping out Ukraine for the winter, providing support to the country's power system, okay, and helping out with the humanitarian fallout from the inability to generate electricity inside of Ukraine due to all these power plants being attacked and whatnot, thermal power plants. So huge news out of Sweden helping out $120 million today. Here's another one. End strike. Italy has approved its 12th military aid package for Ukraine. For security reasons, the specific contents of the package are not being disclosed. So yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any details on that, but Italy did announce a new package for Ukraine, military aid package, and they should be getting some good equipment coming from the Italians. Now, next, Denmark has allowed Ukraine to build a military factory on its territory, the first such case in NATO, in the town of Vosges. Ukraine will produce a solid military-grade rocket fuel. Placing such a facility in Denmark allows Kyiv to develop its production safely without fearing attacks from the occupiers. The symbolic launch of the construction was given by Denmark's Minister of Economy, local mayor Mads Skov, I'm saying that right, and the head of the Danish branch of Firepoint. The plant is set to begin operating in 2026. Okay, this is big news coming out from Denmark. So Ukraine's going to be setting up a facility over there to produce solid military-grade rocket fuel. Here's some of the officials that were announcing the start of this new project. You can see them throwing some of the dirt there. That apparently this is where the facility is going to be built for Ukraine to help them out with their missile projects. So very good news. We know Ukraine is working on a lot of different ballistic and cruise missiles right now, especially with this company regarding Firepoint right here. So good news there. Now, NOAA reports Ukraine's air defense forces shot down or jammed 39 drones overnight out of 62 launched from various directions, including Bryansk, Oriel, Milarovo, Primorsko-Akhtarsk, Crimea, and Donetsk. Most were Shahed. Strikes hit 8 locations with 20 drones. So 39 out of 62 drones being destroyed from the Ukrainian side. And yeah, obviously we had some strikes inside of Ukraine. We had reports in the Odessa region taking some damage over there due to Russian drone strikes with these Shaheeds. But nonetheless, pretty good numbers coming out from Ukraine overnight. Now, Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of December 2nd, according to the armed forces of Ukraine. Now, our final update here, Russia's losses as of December 2nd, 1,110 troops, 1 AFV, 58 vehicles and fuel tanks, 1 tank, 14 artillery systems, 51 UAVs, and 1 special equipment. Wow, so very low numbers across the board here, guys. Only 1 special equipment, no anti-aircraft warfare system, no multiple launch rocket system. 14 artillery systems. We've been seeing 15 or less here per day. Very low numbers compared to the last few months or even the last year. We usually would see 30 or 40 or more per day. Only 1 tank and 1 AFV. And then look at vehicles and fuel tanks, right close to 50. So not much being destroyed here on the Russia side. But troop losses up a little bit more today. I think we were at like 900, 1,000 yesterday. Up just slightly more, just over 1,100. So guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in for today's update. I know it was a longer one today. Thanks so much for your patience, but lots of news to share with our major update for the Russia-Ukraine war on December 2nd, 2025. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Enjoy your Tuesday out there. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of that, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.